Greek history is often remembered as a golden age of philosophy, democracy, and heroism. Statues of perfect bodies, wise philosophers debating truth, and brave warriors defending freedom dominate the popular image. But the real history of ancient Greece is far more complex, darker in places, and more human than the legends suggest. Behind the myths and marble temples lies a civilization full of contradictions. Greece shaped the foundations of Western civilization, yet it was built on war, inequality, struggle, and constant reinvention. Understanding Greek history means understanding both its brilliance and its flaws. These are the top 7 truths about Greek history that most people never fully learn. Truth 1. Ancient Greece was never one country. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Greek history is the idea that ancient Greece was a single united nation. In reality, Greece was made up of hundreds of independent city-states. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes, and many others functioned like separate countries. Each had its own government, laws, military, and values. Athens valued democracy, philosophy, and art. Sparta valued discipline, military strength, and obedience above all else. These city-states often fought each other more than they fought foreign enemies. Alliances were temporary, fragile, and driven by interest. Even during major wars like the Persian invasions, Greek unity was rare and unstable. Cooperation happened only when survival demanded it. The idea of Greek identity came later. Ancient Greeks identified themselves by their city-state first, not by Greece as a whole. This constant internal conflict weakened Greece and eventually made it vulnerable to outside powers. Truth 2. Democracy existed, but only for a few. Ancient Greece is called the birthplace of democracy, but that democracy was extremely limited by modern standards. In Athens, only free adult male citizens could vote. Women, slaves, foreigners, and laborers were excluded entirely. This meant that only about 10 to 15% of the population had political power. Democracy also did not mean equality. Wealth, reputation, and social status heavily influenced political life. Public debates were open, but manipulation, propaganda, and emotional speeches often controlled decisions. Some leaders rose not because they were wise, but because they were persuasive. Despite its flaws, Athenian democracy was revolutionary for its time. It introduced the idea that power should come from citizens rather than kings. But the truth is clear. Greek democracy inspired the future, even though it excluded most people living in the present. Truth 3. Slavery was essential to Greek society. Greek civilization could not function without slavery. It was not a side system, it was the backbone of the economy. Slaves worked farms, mines, households, workshops, and even government offices. Some cities had more slaves than free citizens. In Athens, slavery allowed citizens the free time needed for politics, philosophy, and art. In Sparta, an entire slave population known as the Helots was brutally controlled to support the warrior class. Slaves were captured from wars, born into slavery, or bought from foreign markets. They had no legal rights. Even great philosophers like Aristotle defended slavery, believing some people were naturally meant to serve. This uncomfortable truth challenges the romantic image of ancient Greece as a land of freedom and wisdom. Greek greatness was built on the forced labor of millions who never had a voice. Truth 4. War was a way of life. Ancient Greece was almost constantly at war. Peace was temporary. Conflict was expected. City-states fought over land, trade routes, honor, and power. War shaped Greek culture, politics, and identity. Young men were trained for battle from an early age. Military service was considered a duty and a path to honor. The famous Spartan lifestyle revolved entirely around warfare. Weak infants were abandoned, and boys were trained through hardship. Even Athens, known for philosophy and art, relied heavily on military power to control its empire. The Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta lasted nearly 3 decades and devastated Greece. By the end of constant warfare, Greece was exhausted, divided, and vulnerable to conquest. War brought glory, but it also destroyed the very civilization it helped define. Truth 5. Mythology was more than stories. Greek myths were not just entertainment. They shaped morals, politics, religion, and daily life. Gods were deeply flawed, emotional, jealous, and cruel, reflecting human nature rather than perfection. These myths explained natural disasters, human suffering, love, and death in a world without science. Heroes like Achilles and Hercules were admired, but they were also tragic figures driven by rage and pride. Religion was woven into everything. Festivals, wars, and political decisions were guided by divine signs. People feared offending the gods more than breaking laws. Greek mythology reveals a society that understood the chaos of life and accepted that even heroes could fall. Truth 6. Philosophy challenged everything, even the gods. Ancient Greece did something revolutionary. It questioned reality itself. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle asked what truth, justice, and existence actually meant. Socrates encouraged people to question authority, tradition, and even religion. This made him dangerous. He was eventually sentenced to death for corrupting the youth and disrespecting the gods. Philosophy was not safe or comfortable. It challenged power structures and forced society to reflect on itself. Greek philosophy laid the groundwork for science, logic, ethics, and political theory. It taught humanity not what to think, but how to think. This intellectual rebellion is one of Greece's greatest legacies. Truth 7. Greece did not fall, it transformed. Ancient Greece did not simply collapse and disappear. It was conquered, first by Macedonia under Alexander the Great, and later absorbed into the Roman Empire. But Greek culture did not die. It spread. Greek language, philosophy, art, and science influenced Rome deeply. When Rome expanded, it carried Greek ideas across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Centuries later, Greek texts helped spark the Islamic Golden Age and the European Renaissance. Modern science, politics, medicine, and education all trace roots back to Greek thought. Greece didn't vanish, it became the foundation of the modern world. Greek history is not a fairy tale of perfection. It is a story of brilliance mixed with brutality, wisdom mixed with injustice. Its people created democracy but denied equality. They explored philosophy while defending slavery. They built beauty through constant war. And yet, their ideas outlived empires. The true power of Greek history lies not in its myths, but in its influence. To understand Greece is to understand humanity itself, ambitious, flawed, curious, and endlessly searching for meaning.